Hi, I'm Jeremy. Welcome to Freedom of Expression. Today I wanted to talk about the homeless food shelters or homeless shelters and soup kitchens. There's so much lying with all this. So I'm not here trying to convince anybody to change their minds. I'm just trying to show that people are lying about this, whether if it's intentional or not. And this is because I came across a video from ReasonTv titled "Los Angeles is squandering 1.2 billion while homelessness faces a spiral of death." This video is just it's cringy through the whole thing. So it's like, okay, well, let's get into a little bit of detail of this. I'll have a link in the description below for all of these videos, so if you want to watch them in their entirety, go ahead. We're also going to watch, maybe not this one. We'll watch this one, but I won't have that one link. This is called Women Abusing the Welfare System, and this is from the After Dinner Snack. This is an older one from 2014. And here, food stamps, EBT Friday, and you can use it to pay for your way into, I guess the name of the place is The Rose, and you get free shots at the door on arrival. Now, I don't know if they have EBT stuff anymore. I know they've, so it says food stamps up here at the top. We will watch a good portion of this video. And so EBT, it's the Electronics Benefit Transfer. It's a system that allows Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, SNAP, to pay for food using SNAP benefits. It's food stamps. Then we're going to watch a video about Jordan Peterson about wasting time and opportunities, and also actually not that one. Well, yeah, because we're going to talk not about what women want, but about workaholic men. And then how he just kind of organizes his time a little bit. And then 15 kids and 3 baby daddies. Somebody's got to pay for my kids from viral buzz tube. And it's because these people, there's so many of them that they're just capable of working, but they don't. The answer, this is not it. This is not the answer at all. Here is a list of, I don't know if this is all of them or not, but Los Angeles, California shelter list. This was just a quick search that I did. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 locations. I just looked up shelters. I didn't look up soup kitchens or anything else. I did not look into what any churches were doing. This was just a quick little Google thing. I hear constantly about how if you have a non-profit, which all of these are, or at least I'm assuming they are, most of them are going to be, I can't imagine any of them are for profit. They get a lot of money. They pay their employees well, especially if you're the director of the place, and a lot of money gets squandered. I think that this should absolutely be legal. This is a system of enabling instead of a system of productivity. And in one of these videos, there's a guy with that, where you could go into the club using the food steps, that video. He talks about that. He talks about one of the things that, I think it was Florida that did this, and it got a little bit better whenever you had to actually go and work a minimum of 20 hours in order to be able to apply for food stamps. Go figure. Who would have guessed that? It's like people who are mentally incapable of taking care of themselves are roughly into 4 categories: children, senior citizens in cognitive decline, and then you have adults where, they're just special needs, and then adults who have just kind of fried themselves because they've done too many drugs, and they all deserve their own separate camps, because we can tell people who are mentally incapable of taking care of themselves, who are adults, because we can look back at their school records and say, yeah, you know what, barely passing, had these special educational programs and classes that they had to take to be able to get on through, and they're just not doing well now as an adult. It's like, yep, they need to be in one place, probably some kind of, it would be like a senior citizens retirement place, but with some kind of wall to protect them from predators that would want to get out of take advantage of them. And then you would want kind of the rehab people to be in a rehab facility, because if they are, you know what, if for some reason, if you're able to do drugs and you're still able to be productive, I do not agree with that, but if you're capable of doing it, then who am I to say? But if you're not, then it's like, yeah, because, I'm just like, that park bench, that underpass is not your home. And leaving these people out there on the streets is not an answer. So if you're tired of these politicians going around in circles, just taking your money, if you're tired of all the same nonsense being done over and over again and nothing's getting any better, then give the video a like and subscribe. That's the minimum that I need you to do. And if you feel like doing more, I also have Patreon and Subscribe Star. So let's go ahead and let's listen a little bit on this video from ReasonTv.
Los Angeles is now coming together to confront the greatest moral and humanitarian crisis of our time.
Oh, the buzzwords in that stupid... The greatest moral outcry... Shut up. I don't need your inflammatory speeches. Just get to the point. Tell me about how this time more money is going to solve the problem somehow, because it wasn't, enough money before?
Be clear, once again, we are here to end homelessness.
Really? You are? You think nobody has tried this before all around the world since the beginning of time, but yet somehow this guy, the Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, somehow he's figured it out? Well then, why doesn't he share the plan and all of the data and information that he's gathered to support this? Oh, I wish it gave the day whenever this was done. What day and what year, because I don't think this was anything too recently. Maybe it is, but... Oh, and so now we're going to applaud you because you said a bunch of platitudes and buzzwords, and there's nothing to back this up.
5 years after Los Angeles voters
Okay, so 5 years ago,
approved tax increases to raise $1.5 billion to address the region's homelessness problem, there are more people living and dying on the streets than ever before.
Yeah, and so what did his plan do that was different? And where's the accountability of him that if he raises taxes and he does more spending and it doesn't do the results, then why isn't something happening to him for his lying? And it's because this isn't the issue here. It's for children. We have foster care and adoption centers where they go live. For senior citizens, we have retirement centers. So where is it for these people? And it's not just giving them a place to live. How much money until they raise their IQ? How much money until they become hard workers and all this stuff? It's like, because it's not a money issue.
Many of these men and women are both frequent targets and perpetrators of violence. The mayor, who did not respond to our interview request.
Why not? Why didn't the mayor answer a video request? I understand to a point. It's like, no, you can't answer every single one that comes a calling, but it's like you don't get to ignore them all either. And you don't get to pick and choose like it's some kind of damn buffet. It's like, oh, this looks really good. I think this will be a good interview, so I'm going to pick this one. But I'm going to ignore this one over here because I know they're going to ask some hard questions. No, that's nonsense. That they need to be held accountable for it, and they need to be asked the hard questions. If it's just going to be softball questions, it's like the organizations that are doing the softball questions, where's their accountability for that crap? It's like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear buzzwords.
Has partially blamed this failure on the pandemic, which slowed new housing construction.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's their scapegoat for everything, it seems like today. It's a pandemic. It's like, no, the pandemic didn't do any of this stuff. The pandemic didn't close down the economy. The pandemic didn't make people go out and forcibly have to buy face masks. That was the government.
And limited shelter capacity. It's true that COVID caused a surge in homelessness.
No, it didn't. COVID does nothing. COVID is a disease. It's the government that did that. So bad on you, ReasonTv. Wrong. The government did this.
But the city's plan was already failing. In 2019, homelessness spiked 13% in LA County.
This is happening way before the pandemic.
Okay, so, there's something. It's like, where's the accountability? You've already done this. You've already been spending this money. It was not working. It was spiking before. So why should we do more? This man should be in prison for fraud. He went out there, he lied, and, more money for the government. And what is he? He's a government official. That just is absolutely wrong.
Times popping up, places that we didn't see it before. It's just getting worse and worse.
Think about any city that has 70,000 displaced people on the streets. It's unprecedented.
I don't care for your stupid buzzwords either. It's unprecedented. It's like, I don't care. Stop with this. Tell me what we can do about it.
And it needs an emergency response.
An emergency response? An emergency response, why? Because is there some kind of aid whenever it's an emergency response and so you're going to line your pockets? Do not tell me this. Tell me the damn plan. Tell me the evidence that you have to back up your actions. I'm tired of this just emotional roller coaster ride. It's an emergency. It's a pandemic. Playing off of your fears. Screw you.
Everybody's looking for the next position of their career.
You're one to talk. It sounds like you're doing the same thing. You're not on the other side of the aisle. You're all in it together.
Rather than focusing on the task at hand.
Oh, yeah? Well, I haven't heard you talk about the task at hand.
The centerpiece of LA's plan was to spend the $1.2 billion building 10,000 supportive housing units over a decade.
Why are these the housing units? These look too nice. If you have all of these people who need to have housing, then it needs to be effective and efficient as possible. Now, it depends. For the people who are the drug addicts, it's like, no, just bare bone minimum stuff. For people who have a history of being mentally incapable, it's like, no, it needs to be something different for them. That is something beyond their control. They didn't ask for that. Yeah, we can do something a little bit better, but it's not just throw all these people in together in one big lump thing. It's like, no, because they're not all the same. You see it where it's younger people, middle-aged people, older people, senior citizens. It's even the people who are drug addicts and the people who are mentally disabled, they even need to be separated a little bit because they have different needs. So the medication requirements, for example, for senior citizens are going to be different, and it would be a lot easier to be able to handle all of them if they were all together in one place. It's just like with the school system right now. It's like we don't need to reinvent the wheel with like 1 + 1 = 2. Having rainbows and flying unicorns that are farting glitter out of their butt all over the place doesn't change anything. We already know how to do that. What we need to do is focus in on, okay, well, what about all these students who have ADHD? How can we help in their learning so that they can do better, so that they can take care of themselves? How about that instead?
Even if the city were able to pull that off, it would merely put a dent in the problem.
A new housing project opened in Los Angeles as one of the first.
See, and this is really nice. And again, it depends on who it is. But tell me, how much square footage of the place is it going to take for these people to go out and work? How big and how nice and how fancy of the place is it going to have to be so that these people become smarter, more educated, harder workers, all of it? Pick anything. How much does it take? I want a number. Because if this is really what it's going to take, then what's the number? When does this happen? And so we're going to debunk all this stuff here later on.
Under measure HHH.
We will see an opening of one of these about every 3 weeks this year. By my calculations, next year it might be every 2 weeks or...
So he's saying this. One every 3 weeks or even every 2 weeks? Well, it didn't happen. So why isn't he held accountable for this? And they'll say that here in just
less.
5 years into the 10-year plan, just 14 projects are in service of the promised 10,000 supportive housing unit.
So where did all the money go? I don't understand. If you are wanting to go and get a loan to start up a small business, you have to have a business plan. You have to present your numbers and all of this information, because whoever it is, whether if it's the bank or a private individual, they want to know that their money is being well invested in something that's going to give them a return. And so if you can't come up with a business plan, then you don't get anything. If the business plan is not, if the actual business is not meeting up to the expectations, then they stop funding. They claim all of their assets that you've acquired, So if you bought a building, if you have a location and you have all this equipment, then they take it all and they sell it to reclaim their lost money for it, and then they'll take you to court and sue you for whatever it is that you still owe them. So why don't we do this with politicians too? Instead of them just blabbing around like mad like this. It's like I do not care for these ineffective, feckless politicians.
The city has completed fewer than 700. It would take more than 30 years to house all of the people currently homeless in LA County.
And you see these people, it's like, how does this work? It's like, okay, we've given them tents. Here they are with tents. What has changed? So how is giving them a place going to change? Because that's not the problem. The problem is what's going on in here. What we should do is say, you know what, we need to hear all of these stories. And we need to see what's happening the most frequently with all of these people. And then by identifying those, then we address those problems. So for example, maybe a big story that they all share is how they came from a school system that was inadequate, that they had low grades, poor teaching, something along those lines, perhaps that maybe they only had one parent. Maybe their parents were in and out of prison or had alcohol problems. What are the common things, the big things that are going on with these people? And we start with the biggest things, so we'll be able to help the most people. And as we address these things, we try to work through these. But no, it's these things that have absolutely nothing to do with these people. Money doesn't make you any better. And then you have all of these soup kitchens and stuff where they give them all of this food, just like it's like, okay, well, how much food does it take so that these people get their IQ raised, that they become stronger? I mean, what good does it do if they're eating healthy but they aren't taking any kind of advantage of it, if their body's all trashed out because they're all doped up on some kind of drug, or they're just drunk all the time? And I know this is exactly what happens because I used to work on in a convenience store on the boulevard for a friend who was opening up a store, and these people came in all the time. And they had money. They had plenty of money. They had more money than I did a lot of the time. They'd come in, they'd just buy alcohol, cigarettes, and they'd rent out a room somewhere. They'd have a few of their friends, and they would just squander all the money until it was gone, and then they'd be back out on the streets again and out trying to get the money again by whatever means that they can, and they just rinse and repeat constantly. It's like, you know what they need? This is what they need right here. They need mush. You know, nutritional mush, but it's like they don't need this. Absolutely not. Now again, it depends. For these people who've made the decision, that are capable of working and know that they can work, but they don't want to work, it's like I don't give a damn. Black, white, young, old, man, woman, it's like And I saw on a YouTube channel where someone was talking about how all these single parents, especially these mothers who are like, well, I did the best that I could, with raising my children by myself. Nobody cares about you. Oh, I forgot who it was, but it's like, nobody cares about you. You didn't do that. You might have done the best you could, but that wasn't what was best for the children. How about you go and you ask these children, what, do any of them wish that their dad was around? Yeah, do not give me that this is the best that you could do. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. These children did not ask to be brought into this world. This was something that that man and that woman decided to do, and it's like they have a responsibility to that child. And it's not this narcissism of, well, I'm a proud single parent and I'm doing all this. It's like, I don't care. I don't feel sorry for you with your stupid choices that you've made. Not at all.
Here you go, buddy. Breakfast champions. If you close your eyes, it almost feels like you're eating bready eggs. Yeah, a bowl of snot.
It's like, yeah. You don't need lobster or steak or whatever you can get off of your food stamps. And we're going to talk about that. It should be healthy, just like it is here.
It's a single cell protein combined with synthetic aminos, vitamins, and minerals. Everything the body needs.
It's like, yes, that's... I don't mind helping these people out. Especially if it was something outside of their control. Absolutely. And for those people who were just born mentally disabled, or people who suffered some kind of accident, say some kind of on-the-job accident, or maybe a car crash, whatever, it's like, yeah, completely different story. But for the people who just made the choices that led to this, I'm less sympathetic. I am more sympathetic though right now, and it's like, yeah, with these people today, it's like, yeah, we can do better than this because the system has been trashed, but as the system gets better, it's like, no, we should step away from it, and we should even kind of start doing this now. One of the things that Trump did was that he started mailing some of this food to them instead of letting them go out and pick it out, and they were complaining about it. It's like, why are you complaining? If you're hungry and you're in need of food, why aren't you thankful? It's like, I would be thankful if I was in need of food that I had food. And if you want to be picky about it, it's like, that's fine. I have no problem with it. Go work and pay for it. Nobody's stopping you. I don't owe you for anything. Or you or anyone else. So this channel here, the after dinner snack, this is from 2014. I don't even know if they're around anymore, if they do anything. I didn't look. But let's listen to what this young guy has to say about it. It sounds like he's from California, but I don't know. So welfare fraud in America. Yep, it's fraud. It's politicians using this as leverage to line their pockets even more. One of the things that ReasonTv was talking about, why their housing project stuff wasn't getting built, was because they were overpaying their contractors. And guess what? Those contractors were friends, extended family members and friends of the politicians. So it's like, oh yeah, hey, you want this work? I'll give it to you, and I'll pay you more than what it's worth because, you know what, you helped me out, so now I'm going to help you out. Gee, thanks, buddy. BS. It's like they should all be in prison, or at least they should be fined into oblivion. So this is by Ivan Lozano and David Robedo and Keisha Flanders English. I don't know what 1312 is, so I'm probably not saying their names right.
Have you ever wondered where your tax money goes to? The welfare system in America was created to assist needy families. It has served its purpose, but it has also failed because it creates a sense of dependency.
Yep, it is a system of enabling instead of a system of productivity. Now, back in the day, it was the best that we could do, but today with computers and the internet, it's like we could do so much more. We absolutely could. We are not utilizing the full extent of technology as we should be.
Now more than ever, more and more Americans are applying for welfare benefits because of the national economic situation at hand.
You know why? Because it's a loop too. That whenever you raise minimum wage, you cut people out of being able to go work. So it's like with all of these people here, are you trying to tell me that there's not any kind of work that they can do at all? That there's just absolutely nothing? Or maybe we've just cut those jobs out of existence because they can't do that work. And so now that we've raised the minimum wage, we've also made everything more expensive. Because even if you work at a job where you don't have unemployment or a minimum wage worker, if you're making like twice of what it is, here it's $7.50, I believe. And so if you raised it up to 15 and you doubled it, well, I was working this job. We didn't have any minimum wage employees, but now I'm working at minimum wage because I was making double that, but now I'm minimum wage. It's like, I want to be raised, I want to make double with that. So what are you talking about? Well, where do you have workers? It's with every single business everywhere. So everything gets bumped up. So now we have a problem with welfare.
This is perfectly understandable. What's not understandable is people abusing those benefits. There are benefits that provide for the supplements, shelter, healthcare, and even extra money for the people in need. Alright, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay.
She's been on welfare since she's been an adult. Whenever she turned 18, she got caught living with her boyfriend, and she got kicked off. She's trying to get on it again. The slums are not kept up because the government doesn't care. Obama is just lying with this stuff.
$7.80 in food stamps, $500 in tenants, and I get Medicaid and WIC.
Yeah, so all together she's getting over I think $13.50 a month, and then Medicare and WIC and all this stuff. And then she talks about how she takes her food stamps and sells it, and just because it's now with an electronic card, they still do it. I know people today where I know someone where they were offered food stamps, and the way that they get around it is that, well, you provide them with a list of things that is that you want from the store. Then they go to the store and then they buy these things, and then they sell you the actual end product. So if you want them to go buy baby food or milk or chicken or whatever it is that you want, they go buy it with the food stamps. Then they take the chicken, the milk, the eggs, whatever, and then they sell it to you for less than what it would cost you to go do it at the store. And that way it's kind of a win-win situation. They got the food stamps for free, and then you get the items for less than what the store is. And that's one of the way these people get extra money.
And as somebody who worked in low-income neighborhoods, I've seen it, where people weren't encouraged to work, weren't encouraged to upgrade their skills. We're just getting a check, and over time, they're...
It's really ridiculous how Obama is talking about these things, but I know of absolutely nothing that he did that addressed those specific issues that he just mentioned.
motivation started to diminish.
Have you ever sold your food stamps?
Yes, I did for $100 and I got $60 in cash.
You know why she's doing the interview here? Because they don't care. You know, this guy right here who's interviewing her.
Ever sold your food stamp?
This guy right here. It's like he's not the president. He can't change anything. I'm sure he came up and he just said, "Hey, I'm doing this for YouTube, and I just want to put it out there." You know, and she probably didn't give a flip, because I've known people like this. They're on welfare and they do not care. Some of them are actually very proud of it for some reason. And he's right here. Welfare is not a career, but they treat it as such.
Fraud investigators knew something was wrong as they surveilled their suspect. Behind the wheel of a $40,000 Cadillac Escalade, Kim Johnson. She is on public assistance. She claimed that she was disabled, in need of 24-hour care, and that she was poor.
Fraud, you know, and it's like, why? Why are these people able to fraud the system like this? Because we just, it's so loose. It's the same thing with voter registration laws. It's like, this is why we want them, because we want the right people who are supposed to vote to be able to vote, which are American citizens, and we want all the foreigners not to vote because they don't live here, they don't have anything to do with our system, they don't contribute to it, so they shouldn't be a part of it. Now, if they go through and they learn English and our laws and our customs and traditions and our economics and everything else, it's like, okay, well, then that's different, you know, and then they can apply for citizenship, and it's like, all right, then you can. But it's the same thing with this, and it's one of the reasons why all of these stupid government programs fail. Is because how do you keep tabs on all these people? Usually whenever I hear of somebody being exposed for being on the welfare system or any of these, it's because it's just a normal, regular person who's done this. They've been ratted out by somebody. And it's like, good. You need to be held accountable.
Instead, she pulls up to a Suan's Beauty Supply, a store she...
So, this is good. In 1996, President Clinton promised to change the welfare system as we know it. One of those changes was the Welfare to Work initiative. I did not know Clinton did this, but I was young at the time. Where, at the time, it was called TANF recipients were required to work at least 20 hours a week. What? Are you kidding me? This took many people off of the welfare rolls, but many do not credit the program. They credit the booming economy of the 90s. It was probably both.
Food stamp coupons were replaced by the EBT card. State officials...
And it doesn't matter, because like I said, it doesn't solve the problem. That there's something to be sold, whether if it was the stamps or the card.
Sold on the black market and used as a form of currency to buy narcotics and other contraband.
Yes, and I've heard this constantly. Whenever I was working on that convenience store, whenever I was also a correctional officer with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, the inmates blabbed about it all the time. That they get money however that they can, and this is what they go by. Whenever these homeless people came on in, they would say, yeah, we're going to go get some drugs, we're going to shoot up. Hey, I need that rose with the glass pipe and the Brillo pad, because they need that to do their drugs. And yeah, that's why you don't give these people money. You don't give them anything that they can sell. If you want to give them food, you do not give them something that can be saved and passed on and sold. If you want to give them food, you go to a fast food joint and you go buy something like a burger where it's just wrapped up in some paper. They're going to have a hard time selling that. If a homeless person came up to you just all nasty and dirty and was trying to sell you a burger or whatever, it's like, are you really going to eat it? Because, you know, they probably pissed in it. Or on more than one occasion working out there at the prison, an inmate got caught putting his junk in the food or doing something else to the food because they don't care and they think it's a joke. And then here he is, it helped a little. So I will say it's not like going to the card was a bad thing, because it did make it difficult. So it's like Burger King can't do this anymore. No more food stamps. They did restrict it. And it's like, yes, these companies should not be allowed, any of them, to be able to do it this easily. The more difficult that we can make it, the better. And then he's just showing pictures of things, and so
the Florida State Legislature has recently proposed a bill that would bar people from using food stamps to pay for candy, soft drinks, and other junk food.
Yeah, and this goes back to what I was talking about with that little clip from The Matrix where they're eating mush. It's like, yes, it should be absolutely healthy, but it should not be anything that you would want to eat, because that would be an incentive for you to get off of it. It's like, you can have these things. Go earn your own money and go buy them like everybody else. That's fine.
The bill would also prevent people from using their EBT cards at ATMs in casinos or strip clubs, or from accessing cash out of state.
Yeah, so even with the cards, it's like, go figure. Big banks are allowing EBT cards to be used, to allow the cards to be used at ATMs to get money? Why is that not illegal? Well, why are banks allowed to do that? That they should be fined for that. They should be held on some kind of fraudulent charges or something. I don't know, some kind of corruption charges. I guess that's not fraud, because they're not saying that they're helping welfare. They're not enacting these programs, but the government should say, okay, well, we're going to make it illegal for banks to do this, and then if the banks continue on, then it's like, yes, then it's a criminal act. Drug testing.
States like Georgia, Florida, Colorado, and Nebraska have proposed to commence drug testing welfare applicants and
they didn't. Florida did get it passed, and then the court said no. It's like, why? And he makes a good point in the video, is that whenever you go and you apply for a job, you have to do drug testing. So why should it be any different with this? And it's like, I think drug testing should be 100% mandatory, and if you're clean and say something has happened to you, it's like, yeah, okay, here's some aid. I'm not saying that the welfare system should go away, but it's definitely in need of reform and update. And if you're on drugs and you can't get it together, then you should go to like the rehab center where, yeah, you know what, you're there, there's a wall around the place, you can't leave, and we're going to figure out, what led you down this road and how we can prevent future people from doing this. And it's like, you have to. And I think they do this to an extent. But it's not, it's grossly, horribly underdone. If it's a thing, I think it is. But
some people are calling these drug tests unconstitutional. How is this unconstitutional? It's okay to drug test people who work for their money.
Yeah, it's like, if these people can't get their lives together, if you can manage to balance it out somehow, it's like, okay, well, I guess so. But if you can't, it's like, and you're on my dime now, it's like, no, you don't get to live the life that you want to, because you're not taking care of yourself. If you want to be homeless, fine, go ahead. Go buy some land and destroy the home and be homeless. Or buy some land without a home on it. That's fine. But that park, no, that is not a place for you to pitch a tent and to live. That public restroom out there for everyone is not a place for you to go and do your morning routine. It's not for you to take a shower in. Better education. Yep, the education system is trash, and he does a good job of talking about we need to instill the reasons as to why you don't want to do this and some better things. And
the best solution possible is educating.
So I'm gonna say, I don't know if it's the best solution. That's an assumption right there, and I'm sure he probably feels pretty strong about it. And I'm gonna say it is a big one, but I don't know if it's the most important one.
The American youth. The target needs to be middle and high school age kids in order to make them realize the consequences of generational welfare and welfare.
I'm gonna say all kids. I'm gonna say all kids. The sooner the better.
Abuse. By providing the proper education, we can start making the correct changes that are needed in our welfare system.
Yeah, I'm absolutely for doing all that we can for these kids, for all kids, because the kids, all of us, we did not choose to be born into this world. We didn't choose our parents and the situations that were dealt to us just by chance. And then he's got some kind of welfare fraud hotline. I don't know if it exists anymore. I didn't look it up. I wanted to talk about not just complaining about this. I'm not a news outlet. I'm not trying to provide for the news. I'm trying to show that there's lying here as to, well, here's the lie, here's why it's a lie, and here's something that we can do better. So we're going to look at these clips from Jordan Peterson as I sew a sweater together, because I can't stop saying "so" for some reason. It's just because it's just a habit that I've gotten myself into. And
you know, if you take people, and I've told you this, and you expose them voluntarily to things that they are avoiding and are afraid of, you know, that they know they need to overcome in order to meet their goals, their self-defined goals. If you can teach people to stand up in the face of the things they're afraid of, they get stronger. And you don't.
This is something that I've heard a lot throughout my life from many places. It seems like that one of the things that people need to do is that they need to build up their courage to go out and to do these things, and to not be so insecure. And it seems like whenever the issue of courage and insecurity gets actually addressed, things do better.
I don't know what upper limits to that are, because you might ask yourself, like, if for 10 years, if you didn't avoid doing what you knew you needed to do, by your own definition, right, within the value structure that you created, to the degree that you've done that, what would you be like?
It's like, right. Whenever he was talking about educating the kids, it's like, yes, we need to talk about that. We need to talk about that your actions have consequences. It's like you can go and you can just go to the club, you can go to the bar, you can buy candy, you can be fat and lazy and worthless, and you can do all this stuff. And how much money are you going to get out of this? You can only do one thing. Right now, I can only do one thing, and that's this. I cannot make a YouTube video and play an instrument and go work out and go to my shop in the garage and make something in there. It's like, no, it's one thing. Multitasking is a lie. You can do one thing. Now, you might be able to switch from one thing to the next really quickly, and I've seen documentaries about this where it's like, no, nobody multitasks. Absolutely nobody at all whatsoever. No. Nobody multitasks. Multitasking would be whenever you can go in front of a chalkboard and with one hand you can draw this beautiful picture, and with the other hand you can do math, where you are literally doing two things at that very moment. Nobody can multitask. So it's just one thing. So what are you going to do? Are you going to go do something like this? Or are you going to manage your time?
Well, you know, there are remarkable people who come into the world from time to time, and there are people who do find out over decades-long periods what they could be like if they were who they were. If they spoke their being forward. And they get stronger and stronger and stronger. We don't know the limits of that. We do not know the limits of that. And so you could say, well, in part, perhaps the reason that you're suffering unbearably can be left at your feet, because you're not everything you could be, and you know it. And of course, that's a terrible thing to admit, and it's a terrible thing.
And he talks about how this is a hard thing, because it's like, what's easier? To go out there and to say that everything that you do in your life has meaning? That's a hard thing to live up to. You know, it's because if that's it, then when would you ever just watch TV or listen to music? Play a video game, catch a movie. It's like it gets harder to justify those things. Just sitting around eating bonbons all day. It's like, and what do you think these people are doing? I do not believe that all of these people are just worthless individuals. I think these people have absolutely been neglected. Now, there are some where it's like, yeah, they were unfortunate in their situation. Perhaps one or both of their parents were on drugs, and it created problems with the baby whenever they were born. It's not their fault. There's nothing that we can do about that, at least right now, not that I'm aware of. And he just talks about doing more. And
about 300,000 people attached to the electrical power grid. We're lifting people out of poverty collectively at a faster rate that's ever occurred in the history of humankind by a huge margin. And that's been going on unbelievably.
And he talks about this. He talks about how all these countries around the world, these third world nations, are finally getting to a place where they're getting power, they're getting food, and everything about them is going up. And they're not just sitting around and doing nothing. They're being productive. In one of his other videos, he talks about that whenever he was on the UN Council to deal with poverty climate change, was that nobody talked about climate change. They talked about how you wanted to lift people out of poverty, and if you just get them to where they have $5,000 a year, they start becoming aware and concerned about their environment, and that's how you fix the environment. And so it's not this crap that politicians talk about, like AOC with the Green New Deal with farting cows, or building a speed rail over to Hawaii to connect it to the continent. It's like, no, that is absolutely just trash.
Unbelievably quickly since the year 2000. The UN planned to have poverty between 2000 and something. I mean, you can think about this yourself. I often ask undergraduates how many hours a day you waste, or how many hours a week you waste. The classic answer is something like 4 to 6 hours a day. In addition to studying, watching things on YouTube that not only do you not want to watch, that you don't even care about, that make you feel horrible about watching after you're done. That's probably 4 hours right there. You think, well, that's 25 hours a week, it's 100 hours a month, that's 2.5 full work weeks, it's half a year of work weeks per year. And if your time is worth $20 an hour, which is a radical underestimate, it's probably more like 50 if you think about it in terms of deferred wages. If you're wasting 20 hours a week, you're wasting $50,000 a year, and you are.
Yes, I love it. Go to this one, and just I'm playing it at 1.5 speed, because if I would just have no time if I just played it at regular speed with this stuff. This is titled Jordan Peterson, Wasting Time and Opportunities, Bite-Sized Philosophy. So it's around the 3-minute marker right here. And just sit down and do the math that he just talked about. It's about learning about delayed gratification. That if you put in the time and the work and the effort to improve yourself, I hate this stuff with these stupid little hippies about, I'm all into self-improvement, and they want to sit out under the stars and put in some yoga pose or whatever. It's like, no, you're not. You're doing like one thing out of like 50. You are not bettering yourself. You're just out there just acting like a child because you think that you've eaten some nuts and berries, yet you live like an idiot. You have the attitude of a child where you have a hissy fit. You are incompetent and irresponsible, and nobody can rely on you for anything. That whenever something bad happens, you can't help because you can't do anything because you never improved a damn thing in here. All you do is cry and complain.
Are doing that right now, and it's because you're young. Wasting $50,000 a year is a way bigger catastrophe than it would be for me to waste it, because I'm not going to last nearly as long.
Because he's talking about investing that into something else, like putting that money into like a business of some kind, or just making your life easier by buying more tools to be able to make things go by quicker, such as having better working appliances, more comfortable couches and furniture and beds so that you relax better, so you don't have to spend as much time, that whenever you go into your bed, because the bed is more comfortable, that you just knock right on out and then you get on up and you only have to sleep for maybe 7 hours instead of 8.
Collectively, and stop making things worse, because that's another thing people do all the time. Not only do they not do what they should to make things better, they actively attempt to make things worse because they're spiteful or resentful or arrogant or deceitful or...
And I know people like this. I know people that whenever you go and you tell them good news, that they will come down on you because they don't want to do that. And so what they do is that they will bring you down in the process. And to those people, I say to hell with you. It's like, you can get out of my face. I do not want these toxic people in my life whatsoever. If you have somebody who's actually good in your life, then whenever you say something that has happened to you that is good, then they should celebrate with you. They should ask you, what happened? Oh, that's great. What are your future plans to keep this up? Something along those lines. It's not a one-up. It's like, oh yeah, me too. And I also did this. It's like, shut up. You know, and that's not as bad as the people who are like, well, aren't you just a little miss little prissy or something like that? It's like, oh man.
Or homicidal or genocidal or all. And that's the thing that's interesting too, is that another thing I've often asked my undergraduate classes is, you know, there's this idea that people have a conscience. And you know what the conscience is. And I went and did it.
And he's talking about how we don't know what a conscience is. That there's no scientific evidence to be able to explain a consciousness at all. We don't know why we have it. We don't know what its function is or anything like that. We're completely blank and clueless about it. And I'm not going to go into detail about it, but if you want to, go ahead and try and look it up. There's nothing. There's a bunch of guesses, but they're pretty weak sauce. I mean, some of them are kind of okay.
Anyways, and the funny thing too is that conscience operates within people, and we really don't understand what the hell that is. Force of you and all your ability and your talent. Well, it's more than that too, because, and this is what I'll close with, and this is why I wanted to introduce Solzhenitsyn's writings to you. You see, because it isn't merely that your fate depends on whether or not you get your act together and to what degree you decide that you're going to live out your own genuine being. It isn't only your fate, it's the fate of everyone that you're networked with. And so, you know, you think, well, there's 9 billion, 7 billion people in the world. We're going to peak at about 9 billion, by the way, and then it'll decline, right?
Kind of. Right now we're entering 8 billion. I just looked at this the other day. We're at 7.9. And it looks like we're going to peak at 10 billion. And yes, we are going to decline because as all these first and second world nations have done, their population birth rates are on the decline. And so it's only these third world nations that have kind of the booming babies. But now that they're developing too, it's going to start going the other way for them as well. So, and it's because it just makes sense. You know, it's easier to take care of 2 to 4 children versus 10 to 14. And whenever you look at families before they had contraception, even here in the States, yes, that's exactly how large families were.
7 billion people in the world, and who are you? You're one of the best most.
But anyways, he's talking about how what you do also affects those around you. And so if you're an a-hole to everyone around you, it affects them too. And that's just another argument as to all the things that you do matter because it affects those around you. And so you really can see this well with children. If you really want to have a kind of a good idea of how the parents are, take a look at their children and how they act. And if their children are kind of soft and squashy and stupid and lame, it's like, yeah, because the parents are. Because the parents don't know what they're doing. That's why their kids act like trash. So, anyways. Now about what it means to be a workaholic.
You think that the people who run things are sitting at home smoking big cigars and like telling their minions what to do? It's like, that's like the night.
And so what these are his lectures in his classroom. I don't think he's teaching anymore. But this is him at the University of Toronto. He's Canadian. And this is just him setting up a camera in his classroom. I don't know who's filming it, if it's just... Because sometimes the video is moving along with him, so I don't know if he's got like a student who's doing it or what, but it's just... Before he was famous, too, with all this stuff.
1920s millionaire that's on the cover of a Monopoly game. That's no sociological analysis. I know lots of people like that, and they work all the time, from the second they wake up to the second they go to sleep, and they don't just casually work. You know?
Yeah, and it's like, how else do you think that this happens? For those people who are really wealthy and successful, how do you think that happens? It doesn't just fall out of the sky. Money doesn't grow on trees. Part of the problem, though, is that you don't see those people. You see everyone associated with them. You see their spouses, their children, their friends, and yeah, a lot of them don't work. You know, it's like those Jersey wives or something like that. It's like, yeah, they're not the workaholics. It's their men or their husbands, their fathers or whatever, and they're the ones who are nuts because they're the ones that are doing this stuff.
You know, because I know some people go to the library for 6 hours and you say, well, I studied in the library for 6 hours. Like, no, you didn't. You studied for half an hour. You had coffee and you looked through Facebook and you went home and you said, well, I studied for 6 hours and you're happy about it. But you know, bloody well, you didn't. Partly because you can't. You know, I can only read for about 3.5 hours till I'm done.
Yeah, and that's something else too. It's like you don't pop out of the room knowing how to read and write, and it drains you. You know, I know people who drive trucks. They just sit there. They don't do anything, but they're having to be aware of their surroundings. And if they mess up, you know, there's really big consequences from that. But you have to train yourself to be able to do something as simple like that. It's just like whenever you read a book, you get tired with that because you're using your mental fortitude and able to do that task, whether if it's driving a truck or reading a book.
Yeah, and I'm pretty good at it. So these people who are running things, there's corrupt people, obviously, but the vast majority of them, first, are self-made, and second, they're so bloody efficient and smart, you cannot believe it. And they work 80 hours a week, and most of them happen to be men. And why is that? Because there are a small number of insane men who will do nothing but work 80 hours a week, and no matter where you put them, if you put them in the middle of the forest with an axe, all they can do is run around.
You know, I think this is what I'm going to have to come down to. I'm going to have to force myself into this because the plans that I have for this, it's stupid. I don't want to do this at all, but it's like the benefits that I see from it are insanely massive, and it's not an easy thing what I'm attempting here that I want to see done. I know I'm going to be able to do this. How far am I going to get? I don't know. It depends on how well I can effectively communicate my vision with all of this and get people on, because the faster I can do it, then the quicker I can get through this, and I would love to be able to have this all automatically set up and there's nobody in charge of a damn thing. Well, it's a different kind of way that it would be set up as to who would be in charge. It would be everyone. So make that make sense. I know exactly what I mean.
Chopping down trees. So the issue isn't why aren't there more women in positions of power. It's why are there any men insane enough ever to occupy those positions? You know,
because it's like you're suiciding yourself. You are sacrificing your time with your spouse, your friends, your family, your kids, any other hobbies and everything, because it's just work. It's just work all the time. And he explains why you have to do this.
You also know, and the data on this is very clear, what's the relationship between money and well-being? Once you have enough money to keep the bill collectors from your door, so once you have enough money to stave off misery.
And I've heard this so many times, and that for here in the U.S., I don't know how it is if you're living in a different country, but roughly it's like $75,000 a year. That this is whenever this happens.
Which is sort of lower middle class, something like that in our society, maybe a little lower than that. Extra money does not help you. It does not improve your life. So why bother with it? Well, that's what the women in the law firms think. It's like most of them, by the time they're in their 30s, are married. Almost all of them conservative types, low income as well, and they want to win. So there's a real
Yeah. So women, whenever they kind of hit this threshold, they're less concerned about all this money. It's like, no, I want to be married, I want to have children, all this stuff. And men don't do it because they want the money. The men do it as a gloating rights. They want to show off and say, yeah, hey, I'm better than you.
A real brass knuckles competition that drives these sorts. Well, balance your checkbook, and there's just money underneath your bed. How in the world would you ever run $1 billion corporation? Those things are complicated, and you have enemies, and they're trying to take you out all the time. You look at Apple and Samsung.
So he's going to go into some really good examples as to why this is just a bloody fight all the time, and you have to work constantly.
They're just torturing each other in courts nonstop. You know, if you're running a big corporation, you'll be handling 200 or 300 lawsuits at a time. And that's just nothing compared to the complexity of what you actually have to do. Stay on top of the technology, constantly interact with your large customers, travel all the time, because you have to maintain relationships. You have to regulate the politics inside your business. You have.
And this is what I'm putting myself up for. I don't want it. And he said something.
And that's just nothing compared to the complexity of what you actually have to do. Stay on top of the technology.
The reason why he knows all of this stuff is because whenever he was doing his private clinical work, he was dealing with lawyers. And this was the lawyers were dealing with all these lawsuits and these big corporations, and so that's why he knows about this.
From all sorts of constraints. We know the data on lottery winners, they're no happier a year later, but some of them are done. You've got all sorts of bad habits, it's weird system.
Oh, and this is so great. And I have heard this constantly too, that it's like 85-90% of people who win the lottery, they're in exactly the same place that they were a year later. Some of them even worse. And it's because they don't know how to manage money. And these are people will win the lottery where they had good lives beforehand, where they were getting by, everything was fine. If you want to kill somebody who's a drug addict, especially if they're living on the streets, give them money. They're going to overdose because they don't know how to handle the money, and they obviously don't know how to handle the drugs. And so it can just take something like $200,000. A parent dies, they sell the house, and they had some savings, and then they just go blow that money on dope, on some kind of methamphetamines or whatever their drug choice is. I mean, not pot, but whatever it is. And it's like, they're dead. And it's because it's like that for everyone, that managing money is not that hard. Or it's not that easy, it's hard.
Dumped an infinite amount of money on you. What makes you think you would unravel completely? It's highly probable. So, anyway, so back to these women.
And he talks about that. You are not as sane as you think that you are, and you're not as capable as you think that you are. It's that you can't do as much as you want to because you're limited by your financial resources. And that if you had more money and more free time, you would actually go out and do a bunch of stupid things because we're stupid.
What they do when they're 30 is they look around and they pick partners, so they can't. Right now, or we'll find someone else, which is going to cost them $100 million, force them to work for the next 5 hours non-stop to fix this damn problem.
Okay.
3 in the morning Sunday by their irate Japanese client.
Yeah, so he's explaining why women stop working in the 30s or 40s. They've hit partnership, and then they have all these demands coming on them from these big companies.
Who wants them to work for the next 5 hours non-stop to fix this damn problem, which is going to cost them $100 million right now. Or we'll find someone else to pay $750 an hour to fix it right now. And you think, well, that's a masculine form of value, because that's one of the criticisms. If the law firms just adopted a more feminine structure of values, the reason that you get up at 3 in the morning on Sunday to talk to your Japanese client who's freaking out about their contract is because if you don't jump the hell up and do it right now, there's some starving associate who's unbelievably ambitious in New York who will pick up the pieces in 0.2 of a second, and they're smart and aggressive, and they'll take you out. So it has nothing to do with masculine structures of value.
Yeah. But, if you want to make $750 an hour, yes, that means that you get up at Sunday morning at 3 o'clock in the morning and you fix that problem right now, and if you don't, someone else is. You work, and you don't get it by living on the streets. You don't get there by this. These people who are just on the streets, it's like that's not it. This is not it. How are they going to do any better whenever? Oh, well, here's a place for you. Here's a home. Okay. Well, so what? Well, what's the difference between them sitting on the street, sitting in a tent, or sitting in some housing? Nothing. It's just their surroundings. It has done nothing for them. They're still the same person. You've just moved them to a different location. This should be illegal. With the generous support of our community, we are proud of the following, which we have accomplished in the last 5 years, which is nothing. The soup kitchen opens 365 days a year. That is not a good thing. Now serving approximately 800 hot meals per day. That is not a good thing. Giving away over 500 food bags per day is not a good thing. Reaching the milestone of serving over 3 million hot meals since 1983 is not a good thing. So over here, 2012, 2013, 2014, 15, 16, 17. And it keeps going up. Where's the good in that? It increases. It's not going down. How is that solving the problem? This isn't doing anything. You know why? Because they're making food that people want to eat. It's yummy, delicious food. It's food that I would not mind. It's like, are you kidding me? It's like, that food looks good. I would eat this food. Where's this? Where's the goop? Healthy nutritional amino acids that looks like runny snot.
Here you go, buddy. Breakfast of champions. If you close your eyes, it almost feels like you're eating runny eggs. You know, a bowl of snot.
Where's their bowls of snot? For the people who are capable, where is their runny bowl of snot? Where are their amino acids?
So protein combined with synthetic aminos, vitamins, and minerals. Everything the body needs.
Where is it? For the people who are capable, I don't have any sympathy with them at all. I mean, I do some because of the welfare system that they're a part of. And so even with Jordan Peterson.
Do you plan your day much, or your time generally? Does this lead to higher productivity? Yes, I plan my day obsessively. My calendar is always absolutely full, and often weeks in advance. I plan in the morning, especially when I'm on top of things, and I plan each hour.
I don't know how to do this. He plans every day, sometimes down to the minute, weeks in advance. I have no idea how to do that. I can kind of take a guess at it, but I would fail miserably at it. It's like I do pretty good kind of for about a week. You know, I can plan like the big things out throughout the week that I need to get done, and I can do that. But for by the minute, is this ever taught in school? Is this taught for the homeless people? You know, it doesn't have to be this much either. It's like set some goals out for the week, the month, the year. I could do that. I can do that. Absolutely. Can these homeless people? Do these people, do they do that? Do you think that these homeless people here, that they have any plans for the week, for the month, for the year? Any long-term goals of anything? Do they know how to even execute them if they were to do it? What about these people here?
Plan each minute, and yes, it leads to way higher productivity. Now, you decide what your goals are going to be, you place them in the calendar, use the calendar as your friend, eh? Because what you...
I like this right here. I like the way that he talks about a calendar. It's about your mindset, and that's the big emphasis with this whole thing, is what's the mindset going on with these people, with you, with me. Evaluate that. You really want to self-improve? There it is. You. There's nobody in control with this other than that person, and it's not giving money away. How does giving money to somebody or food or shelter, how is that going to change their mindset?
Because what you want to do with the calendar is design a day that you want to have, or a day that would be good for you, and
a day that you want to have, or a day that would be good for you. Where is this in schools? Where is this in schools? Why is this not being taught to children? It wasn't taught to me. Was it taught to you? Wasn't taught to me. I don't recall this anytime, anywhere in any of my educational career. Whether if it was elementary school, high school, junior high, college, it was just not there. Sounds like really sound advice to me, though.
When you end the day, you feel that you've moved yourself ahead towards your value goals, and that you've kept chaos under control. And that enables you to see soundly and with a good conscience, and to know that the next day is going to be at least not worse than that day. Planning is unbelievably useful. And again, I don't want to sound like a broken record with regards to the future authoring program, but it really is useful.
That sounds a lot more better with something to do than this.
This evening, one mother and 12 young children. They have no food, no clothes, no shoes, and no place to go after getting evicted. The Tampa mom says she's asked for help, but to no avail. A story that has many different terms. Jeff?
Indeed it does, Gail. Angel Adams says her children are a gift from God, but now she needs help caring for them. Adams is blaming the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office Child Protection Team at...
No! 15 children? She needs help, all right, but not this kind of help. This is a recipe for disaster. These children are going to have such a disadvantage of life. 3 different baby daddies. I found this on another YouTube channel where he knew more about the information and said that was one man that 10 of these kids came from, and he was currently in jail.
And others for her problems.
In my case, they've been in my life 6 months, and I'm homeless.
37-year-old Angel Adams blames the system for her problems, a system of social service agencies trying to help her. Adams has 15 children, 12 who are now living with her in this small motel room. While we were in the room, the children had no food available, no shoes, and Adams says they haven't had a change of clothes in more than 3 days. A concerned employee of the motel called us after seeing her plight.
Oh, it's absolutely horrid what's happened to these children. Their parents are absolute garbage. Because it's not like this is just some kind... You don't need a degree in nuclear engineering to understand that 15 children is ridiculous. Condoms are just dirt cheap. Just dirt cheap. And she's right. You know what? The system has just entitled her and screwed her over. Probably not in the way that she understands it, but absolutely. So where is the accountability of these politicians? How does more money do it again? Why do they get to keep saying this again? So I've got a lot of things going on in the background where I'm setting myself up to be able to work 70 and 80 hours a week. I'm shuffling a lot of stuff around because I've got too much that's getting in the way, and I'm getting rid of a lot of stuff. And I'm going to focus in on this. One of the things that I've got videos where I have a little word pad open, and I usually have it above my head, and it's like, well, here are the lies, and here's the lie. I need to simplify it because doing that outline, it's too much. I need to rein it in a little bit, and I can expand it again later whenever I am able to hire people. But I think for right now, a much simpler, cleaner version of doing this would be, here's the lie. Here's why it's a lie, and here's what we could do better. And so this is kind of what I've done today. You know, what's the lie? It's this welfare nonsense. And it's like, well, why is it a lie? Because it's a system of enabling instead of productivity. So what's something that we could do better instead? Well, the things that Jordan Peterson talked about. Because what are the problems that they're really having? They're psychological. So what the hell does this... What is this governor...
We are here to end...
Or not governor, mayor. Where are his solutions to their psychological problems? How does housing do that? How does money do that? It doesn't. Because if that's the case, if all that you have to do is give people more money to make them smarter or more psychologically stable, then give me money, because you know what? It's going to help me too. Give you money. Let's give everybody money. That'd be fantastic. Oh, but that's not reality. Instead, we get this clown nonsense. This joker up here on stage where, yeah, everything's going good for him because he's abusive. He's abusive to his people. He's abusive with the system. He's a liar. Whether if it's intentional or not, it does not matter, because this is his job. He is making policies that directly affect these people and these issues. I'm tired of it. So if you've understood this, if you're tired of the lies, you're tired of your money just being squandered with more nonsense, you know what stupidity is? It's doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting something different. I know that's not it, but it's not like it's not valid either. It's like, yeah, if you're just throwing more money at a problem, it didn't work before, didn't do anything before, why is it going to magically work now? So, yeah, if you've understood all this and you agree, then do the bare minimum. I really just need you to just give a thumbs, a like, and subscribe. That's all I really need. That's all I need for right now. That would help me out a lot. If you want to do a little bit more, I've got Patreon and Subscribe Star. But for right now, like and subscribe for YouTube or Bitchute or whatever it is that you're watching off of. So that's going to go ahead and do me for now. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you've learned something. We'll catch you again later. Thanks for watching. Bye.